Hello, welcome to my channel where we discuss the MCC laws of cricket. Today we will be discussing an important law which is Law 21, no ball. Now, what exactly is a no ball? It is within the laws a tool devised where which is used to nullify any advantage the fielding side might have taken through their actions. Now, they are not grossly unfair actions, in which case there is a provision for calling dead ball, but these are all run of the play actions where it is found necessary, where it is found that that action gives the fielding side uh, an advantage over the batting side. The call of no ball nullifies that advantage, used to nullify this advantage. We will see in various laws how this works. Like for example, a front foot no ball. Uh, Calling of no ball. What happens when the bowler oversteps? He is bowling too close to the batter. So the no ball call is given, and the advantage that he might have gained by overstepping and bowling from too close to the batter is removed. No need is felt to arrest the game because of the non-seriousness of the offence. In the case of serious offences, the game is stopped immediately by calling dead ball, as we have seen in Law 20. But here, in these cases, the game is allowed to run to its normal. The ball is not called dead; it has to become dead on its own, or is later on called dead for some other reason, but not for this. That is how the no ball works. And I'd like you to also reflect on one more thing, that a no ball is already a three-way penalty. It is already a three-way penalty. A one-run penalty is given. All the ways in which the bowler gets credit for getting a batsman out are eliminated. Those are not counted at all. And also an extra ball is given. An extra ball is given. So that one fault in the call of no ball carries actually three penalties behind that one umpire's call. And that is why I personally feel that this business of what is that? What do they call it? That business of free hit. The business of free hit is utter nonsense. It is so unfair to the fielding side, to the bowler, that what is already a three-way penalty, you have included a free hit. It's nonsense. But then I think the public loves a free hit. Whenever there is a no ball clause, they watch in anticipation, and I don't see the authorities removing this in the near future. But I hope one day they realize that the free hit is very unfair to the fielding side. Now, coming to the no balls, now what happens is there are various kinds of no balls. In my book, I have categorized no balls for the help of umpires, learning umpires, into four categories. There are four categories: the bowler's action, then we have the bowler's position and action, the fielder's position and action, then we have behavior of the ball after delivery, and finally some instances of unfair play where no ball is caught. I have created the tables like this in my book, which helps to understand the different categories of I have divided them into four categories, and there are 21 instances of no ball where no ball call is made. 21 instances. Information like this can be additional and can be helpful to the learner. That is why I have created this, and it helps them to better understand the laws. Now, coming to the no ball, each of the no ball calls that are there. Right in the beginning, we are told that the mode of delivery, the umpire shall ascertain from the bowler whether the bowler intends to bowl right arm, right-handed or left-handed, over or round the wicket, and he shall so inform the striker. So it is the burden of doing this is upon the umpire. He is the one who has to inquire in the first instance, inquire from the bowler, how are you going to bowl? left arm, right arm, whether round the wicket, whether over the wicket, and then he has to communicate to the striker. And in noisy grounds, or I would say wherever, uh, what the umpire really should be doing when he communicates, it is a practical tip for any umpire, is that you go to that side from where the bowler is bowling, raise the particular arm and say right arm over the wicket, loudly enough. And in a lot of places in games in India, with the crowd making so much noise, the other guy cannot hear, the striker cannot hear. So it is best always to go to that position, either round or over the wicket, and raise the particular arm to signal to the striker. That is best. Do it in every game. I suggest you do it in every game. Now, after having informed the umpire, if the bowler thereafter makes a change in his mode of delivery, this is a change in his mode of delivery, the umpire will call that a no ball. The umpire is supposed to call that the no ball. That is, this is the first no ball which is there. The law also tells us that underarm bowling shall not be permitted except by special agreement before the match. A game can be played underarm, but then there is only by special agreement. If it is there is no agreement, bowling underarm is prohibited. And as we will see, is another instance where a no ball is called. Now coming to fair delivery, the arm. We are talking here about throwing, that the umpire, the bowler is not supposed to throw during the delivery. We will look at the definition of delivery, and also, of course, if it is thrown, either umpire can call no ball. For a delivery to be fair in respect of the arm, the ball must not be thrown. Now, a ball is fairly delivered in respect of the arm if once the bowler's arm reaches the level of his shoulder. Arm has reached the level of his shoulder and the elbow joint is not straightened. Elbow joint is, after this point of time, the elbow joint should not be straightened, partially or completely, from that instant until the ball has left the hand. Now, I advise young umpires always to, I tell them, wherever you go, watch a bunch of young boys throwing the ball to each other, or a bunch of cricketers throwing the ball to each other on the ground. And what do you observe concerning that? What you will see and observe is that at the instant before delivery of release of ball, the elbow is straightened. Whenever there is a throw, you see that at the instant of delivery. Sorry, that is the natural definition of a throw. That is a straightening of the elbow joint at the instant of delivery is the normal definition of the throw. But seemingly to make it easier for umpires, they have increased this time period from the time the arm reaches the shoulder till it is released, till that time, that there should be no straightening of the elbow, whether partial or complete. So, this is the definition, which is an unnatural definition, different from this, but this is how the game describes the throw. Straightening of the elbow after the point when the ball has reached then it becomes a throw. If there is no straightening by inference, if there is no straightening of the arm, it cannot be a throw, because it is that straightening of the elbow which lends that extra impetus to that particular delivery, which can be unfair to the striker. So, therefore, in conclusion, I might say that a bowler can bowl with a bent arm. He is permitted to bowl with a bent arm, but that bent arm at the elbow should never be straightened. If there is a straightening, even partial, it is a throw and liable to be called no ball. This law goes on to tell us that a bowler is permitted to flex or rotate the wrist in the delivery swing. So, we are concerned only with the elbow joint. The wrist, it does not matter. The flexing of the wrist in all directions is entirely permitted. All spinners flex their wrist and straighten and bend their wrists all the time. That is not the joint that you are concerned about. The only joint you are concerned about is the elbow, only that. Now, the law says also that whose responsibility is it to call a throw? The primary responsibility is that of the strikers and umpire, the law tells us. He is the one who is in a better position perhaps to say, because here you are all the time watching his feet, you got your eyes, you are watching the striker, you got your watch his back foot and then move your eyes to the front foot and then pick up the ball there. And for that reason, because you are doing this, you cannot be watching his arm. It is the strikers and umpire whose primary responsibility is to call that if he can spot it. But there is nothing in the laws which prevents the bowlers and umpire from calling the no ball in case of a throw. In my experience, I have had many occasions, at least 2 or 3 occasions, to call from the bowler's end, and without really seeing it in the periphery of my vision here somewhere, I see that straightening of the elbow. You can see it. You are not looking at it. You are looking at the feet, but here there is. And I remember one instance that Hindu Gymkhana Comrade Shield match or something like that, where I saw that the guy simply threw that ball out of the blue. And a lot of times spotting a throw from the bowler's end perhaps comes easier than from there. A lot of times you cannot spot from that given position, even if you move to the offside, as some umpires should do in certain cases where they are not able to watch. But if he should move there, and if he can't see it, then there is no way he should be calling. And like I said, a lot of times a bowler's and umpire's position is not a bad position to call, but you are sometimes won't be blamed if you cannot call it. Now we come to a ball thrown or delivered underarm. What is the action in these? We have seen what is underarm bowling. We have seen the definition of a throw, whose responsibility it is. After the bowler has entered his delivery stride, now there is a segregation. Before entering delivery stride, we have seen is going to be dead ball if he throws at the striker's wicket. We have already seen in the dead ball law it's going to be a dead ball, so there is a segregation here. After the bowler has entered his delivery stride, if in the opinion of either umpire, so either of them can call, the ball has been thrown, unless there is an agreement, or delivered underarm combined, that umpire shall call and signal no ball, and when the ball is dead, inform the other umpire the reason of the call. Call no ball and inform your colleague, this is why I have called. Mostly it is a signal from square leg that yes, I have called him for this purpose. Square leg umpire will say that. And the bowlers and umpire shall then warn the bowler, indicating that this is the first and final warning. There is a course of action to be followed in this case. It is a serious offence. The warning shall apply to that bowler throughout the innings, and the warning and he will inform the batter, captain of the batting fielding side, the reason for his action is already there. Inform the batters at the wicket of what has occurred. Now, if I have called a bowler for throwing, I have to follow it up by action of issuing a warning first, and this is your first and final warning. You have just been called for throwing the ball. The captain of the fielding side, one warning for throwing the ball, and you tell the batters also. Now this warning applies throughout the innings, and if it so happens that the bowler at any time during the innings, the same bowler throws the ball again, it will be a second offence during that innings. Once the innings closes, his slate is cleaned, and he starts a new innings with a clean slate. But here, remember, and also remember that these offences which carry action, there is a procedure. I would advise umpires always to be very sure about the procedure that they are supposed to follow. They can never be wrong on procedure, because ultimately you are going to suspend a bowler or give a 5-run penalty. Your procedure should be correct and as per the law. There is no nothing, no common sense to be applied there or nothing of the sort. Just do what the law tells you, letter of the law tells you, follow that procedure, and you will be fine. Now here, in the various cases of such action against the fielding side or the batting side, I have here, I like to, for easy reference, I like to put mention that this is a two-step action. It is a two-step action. One is the first and final warning, and the second is action. Action in the form may be suspension in the case of the bowler in this case, or it may be awarding a fire run penalty or whatever other actions together with the fire run penalty. So it is a two-step action, 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1, 2. So I call it a two-step action. I'll be saying this again and again as we come across all these instances. If either umpire considers that in that innings a further delivery has been thrown or bowled underarm or whatever, then in that case, here you will call no ball. Remember, you will not call dead ball. You will allow the action to happen. You will allow the batting side to score runs of that delivery. Let the ball come back from the outfield, become dead, and then you will issue a warning. Then in this case, you will tell the captain that the bowler is a second offence, and you have to remove him, and he is bound to remove the bowler from the bowling right in the middle of the over, and some other bowler will complete that over, and this bowler cannot bowl during the same innings again, though he can bowl the first ball in the next innings. He cannot bowl it again. And then after that, there is the procedure of reporting to the higher authorities, where as you will see, and I have mentioned, and here also you have to mention it to the captain of the batting side whenever you are first off the field. Follow the process, just tell him, a matter of informing. They shall together report the occurrence as soon as possible to the executive of the offending side and to any governing body responsible for further action against the captain and any other individuals concerned, if appropriate, the team. The captain, I have told you, the onus is on him to ensure that his players play according to the laws of the game and do not indulge in it. Therefore, in all such action, you will see, as stated in the preamble, it is the captain's responsibility. This is borne out here in the reporting process and then action later on. The captain can never escape punishment, because he is the man responsible. He can never say that I wasn't involved, right? Now, bowler throwing towards the striker's end before delivery. In the third edition 2022, this regulation has come about. We discussed this in the while discussing dead ball, and the law has now been changed. Earlier, the law used to be that this delivery, like in the delivery stride, this delivery also would be called no ball. But there were a lot of things which went in the laws that went unanswered, like what happens if he plays that ball? Is he allowed to hit and take runs of that ball? What happens if he misses and the ball goes into the outfield there behind the wicket keeper? Are they allowed runs? What happens when the ball hits the wicket? That of course was that he would be given out. And then finally, again in the delivery stride, and now it has been decided because we don't have the answers to all these questions. It is now found best that we call dead ball in these cases and arrest the game, so that no further action is permitted to take place. This is how the law works. Now, as regards the feet of the batters, in order to ensure that the bowler does not bowl too close to the striker or too wide of the wicket, or he does not bowl from the other side, he is informed or over the wicket, and he doesn't bowl from round the wicket, from in front of the wicket. These rules are made to prevent a bowler from doing these things, and in all these cases the umpire is supposed to call no ball, and these are regulated through the position of his feet in his delivery stride. For a delivery to be fair in respect of the feet, now in the delivery stride, we need to know the definition of the delivery stride, which is given in Appendix A to begin with. The delivery stride is the one in which the delivery swing is made to release the ball, and it starts when the bowler's back foot first lands and ends when the bowler's back foot, front foot lands at the other side. This is the delivery stride, and it starts here and finishes when it first touches the ground there. Uh, the front foot touches the ground there. So you have to understand what a delivery stride is. That is very important understanding. Now, as regards the back foot, the bowler's back foot. Now, as I told you that you will be standing here watching the bowler's back foot, and then take your eyes to the front foot, and then spot the ball. Try to catch the ball with your eye on the way to the striker. You will be watching the back foot, and what you have to see is ensure that when he is in the landing of the back foot, there is no contact with the return crease. With this, it is ensured that the striker doesn't bowl from very wide of the wicket, because the angle of delivery changes and puts the striker at a disadvantage. I have seen in Gujarat where in a game I was playing for my employers, the umpires there never, we could see from the pavilion, the umpires there never called any bowler for offences on the back foot, and that bowler was getting a very, very good angle of delivery, and moreover he was moving the ball, bringing the ball in very well. So it gives an advantage, quite a big advantage. A lot of bowlers can use that to advantage. So therefore, to keep them straight on in relation to the batsman, this law is made. The bowler's front foot, there are two provisions applying to the bowler's front foot. They are similar, but let us see. The common one is that where the bowler's front foot must land with some part, whether grounded or raised, on the behind the popping crease. Behind the popping crease, we know what the crease is. We've got the crease marking, and the inner edge, the edge closer to the umpire, is the crease mark. The crease. Some part of the front foot, whether grounded or raised, it doesn't have to be landed. We have seen many occasions nowadays. Television shows us this in detail. So I don't think I think everybody understands now what a front foot no ball is, and it can be raised, but some part has, if a sideways view can show you that some part of it is raised even fractionally, it is a fair delivery. That is the limit that is put on the bowler. It is in the landing which must be seen. The second is that the bowler's front foot is on the same side as he has informed the striker, the umpire, that I am bowling over the wicket, and if his body is turned sideways and his front foot is on the other side, completely on the other side of the imaginary line, there is no line here. You have no reference point except a lot of it is guesswork. There is an imaginary, you have to imagine a line from your nose to the middle stump to the other middle stump, and he has crossed that line entirely, not partially. Just like in the front foot with respect to the popping crease, with respect to the center line, the same rule applies, that his foot has to be entirely outside on the other side of what he has informed us. That is how it works. Now this is an imaginary line, difficult to judge. In my experience, I have had only one bowler who could have made a lapse, could have been called. Not sure over the years, not sure whether but I have always found that he was on this side. This rule did not exist during those days. That was Abdul Zarabkar, who played for Maharashtra, and he would come across, his front foot would be right on, bang on the middle stump, exactly where the striker would take his stance. He would really dig it up, and he would bowl from that position. Body used to be quite severely angled. That is the only bowler I have seen anywhere close to doing that. But then it seems there are some bowlers, and now it is provided that you can't be on the other side. You are no longer bowling over the wicket, but you are bowling around the wicket. That is the idea. Behind the popping crease. Now, if any of these three conditions have not been met, that he has to be behind this, he has not touched this, he is not he is behind the popping crease and on this side of the popping of the center line, imaginary center line. If any of these is violated, it is called a no ball. Now it is to be remembered that it is the landing of the foot. So therefore, if in first landing the foot is inside and then slips out, it won't be a no ball. Similarly, for the back foot, the foot has landed properly and then by some action it goes on to touch the return crease, it will not be a no ball. Front foot, ball lands inside and then slips out, won't be a no ball. Similarly, with the foot across the center line. There used to be Ashok Pankad, an India player, a Bombay and India player, who used to bowl off spin, and he had very small strides. He would land his back foot very close to the return crease, and while pivoting his body, he would simply swipe across that foot across the return crease. That was just his style of bowling, and he would swipe his foot across it, and on dusty tracks you could very clearly see the marks made by him. But that was not a no ball, because when he landed properly and it swiped the return crease. There are many bowlers who land their front foot inside and then it slips outside. Kumble has been one, Sean Pollock is another I have seen. And then I have had the experience of another bowler, a Punjab bowler, India and Punjab bowler, that was Dinesh Mongia. Now he was a part-time bowler. He came up to bowl in the Challenger Shield, and the only man in my experience. What it used to do is, he was a left-arm bowler, and what used to happen is, foot used to land here like this, outside the crease, and in pivoting his body would come this way with about 3 inches at least inside, at least 3 inches inside. He would land here, and while pivoting the body, it would turn his body, and the foot would also turn to be inside, 3 inches inside. I had a hard time because that match was on television and there was an on ground television screen, and the people really thought that wasn't a no ball, which was not true. And even the bowler told me, sir, my foot is inside there, you can see for yourself. I said, look, this is what you are doing. You are landing here and coming straight. So that is no excuse. Once you have landed improperly, the way you land, that is what is to be taken. These are two examples of that. Now, grounded or raised, we have finished with this. Now, bowler breaking the wicket in delivering the ball. Earlier, we used to see some bowlers breaking the wicket on their delivery strides, coming very close to the bowler's wicket, and a few bowlers would do this at least once or twice in the game. They can no longer do it because now this is punishable by means of a no ball call, and if either umpire he sees that the bowler has broken the wicket at the bowler's end in the delivery stride and in the stride after the delivery stride. So we are talking here of 2 strides. He has broken the wicket not merely in the delivery stride. I have yet to see something like this happen in the delivery after the delivery. So there are 2 delivery strides, or he may be ahead of beyond his delivery stride and his spectacles fall off or something falls off his body, and so the breaking of the wicket can be through any clothing or other object falling from his person, breaks the wicket. Now here we will need to see what a fielder's person is. refer to Appendix A to see what his person is and what his clothing is. You will have to see that. And remember always that it is this law covers the stride, the delivery stride, and the stride after that. Remember that always. This is a peculiarity. I have yet to see it. This rule wasn't there when I used to umpire, and I haven't seen this happen at any level of cricket so far. Now, here there is also a regulation which says that otherwise he breaks the wicket, otherwise in attempting a run out, which is obvious. In the delivery stride, if he attempts to break the run out, there is no way you are going to call that a no ball. He is permitted to do that, and the non-striker is liable to be out. We will see this in law 38 when we the run out law when we come to it. But here, in that case, a no ball will not be called. He's broken the wicket in order to obtain a run out, which is an exception to this particular regulation of calling no ball. Here there is mention of revoking of no ball, law 21.12. I will discuss that in detail because there are quite a few occasions where a no ball call can be revoked. We know generally that if a no ball call is made, it remains it stands always unless it is revoked. So there are some occasions where it is revoked. Here in this case, a reference to Appendix to Law 20.4.2.10 tells us that in such cases a no ball has been called, but the ball does not leave his hand for any reason. The no ball call will be revoked. The umpire will call dead ball. We have already seen the action of calling dead ball if the ball is not released by the bowler. It is almost a reflex action. I don't see the ball as dead ball, and then I am supposed to revoke that call. This applies. This is one of the instances where the no ball call is revoked. Now, Law 21.7 it clubs three cases together: a ball bouncing more than once, rolling along the ground, or pitching off the pitch. A ball pitching more than once or rolls along the ground before it reaches the popping crease. The distance is from the bowler's hand up to the popping crease. If between that the ball has bounced a second time, it's a no ball. The ball bouncing a second time in the popping crease, it has come one bounce to the striker, so to say. And now it has nothing to do with the striker, only the crease really. But I am only putting it a little differently. That is not how the law says it. Before it reaches the popping crease, or it rolls along the ground. Suppose the ball has not been too well delivered and has failed its action somehow, and the ball pitches on the pitch and then rolls along the ground. There have been instances that it has happened. And before it reaches the popping crease is important for us to understand. Or these are two, we have dealt with two. The third is needs some further explanation, is pitches wholly or partially off the pitch. Pitches wholly or partially off the pitch. The pitch, as we know, before it reaches the line of the striker's wicket. Before it reaches the line of the striker's wicket, it has passed wholly or partially. Therefore, if it pitches on the edge of the crease, partially outside, partially inside, it will be called a no ball before reaching. Now, what does pitching off the crease before reaching the striker's wicket? We have to look at this a little closely. But before that, when a drawn turf pitch is being used, this will apply to any ball that wholly or partially pitches off the. So that is the pitch there. In both cases, it is the pitch. The artificial surface is also the pitch. So the ball which has pitched partially outside also will be liable to be called no ball. Now, what I was referring to a minute ago was that it reaches the line of the striker's wicket. Therefore, a ball which is full pitch, we see it happening all the time. A ball that is full pitch is missed by the striker, and the ball Pitch is behind the wicket and naturally off the pitch. We know the definitions of the pitch are 66 by 66 is the length and 10 feet. So sideways it is going to be 5 feet on either side. This is 66. Now this ball has pitched outside the pitch, but it is after reaching the striker's wicket. So therefore that definitely will not be called no ball. We see it happen all the time. A full pitch delivery more often than not will pitch behind the wicket, off the pitch. That is not to be called. So here we will be talking about the sideways pitching of the pitch, always to be called no ball. These three instances are clubbed together: ball bouncing more than once, rolling along the ground, pitching of the pitch. All of these are considered as unfair acts. Will be called no ball. They'll be called no ball. And remember that there is a no ball called where he is allowed to play the ball. Bounces more than one, he will still be allowed to play the ball. No ball call will be there. Rolls along the ground before it reaches. Fine. A no ball will be called. So it won't be followed by a dead ball. Now ball causing the striker to leave the pitch or ball coming to rest in front of the striker's wicket. These are two cases where they have been clubbed together in one law, law 21.8. Let us take the second one first. The ball comes to rest in front of the striker's wicket is a case for calling no ball. Ball has not been properly released and somehow it stops in front of. Now it must have bounced a second time, maybe it did, or it is rolling along the ground. And again rolling around the ground is before that only it will be called no ball. I can't imagine ball coming to a dead stop or without bouncing twice or without first rolling along the ground. But this is the law separates the two. But if it comes to rest, in the no ball will be called earlier, say no ball. But if it comes to rest, it will immediately be followed by a dead ball call. It will immediately be followed by a dead ball call. Now the ball may be on the pitch or off the pitch. It does not matter. It will have to be called dead ball. The earlier farce of the striker going across to the ball wherever it lay, and then the fielders taking their original positions, and then he is allowed to hit the ball anywhere. There have been instances in higher grade cricket also of this, because the law allowed it. The law no longer allows it. So therefore, the law now says that a ball which comes to rest in front of the striker's wicket, not necessarily on the pitch, off the pitch, comes to rest, dead ball. Or even on the pitch, the no ball call will be there and also the dead ball call. So we are told that the umpire shall call and signal no ball immediately and immediately call and signal dead ball. We do not want to carry out any farcical actions. Now the second instance, ball causing the striker to leave the pitch, is another which has been added in the third edition 2022 to the laws 2017 code. This needs to be examined a little bit and understood because it is new, that if a ball delivered by the bowler comes to rest in front of the line of the or is so far from the pitch, if the ball is so far from the pitch that the striker would need to leave the pitch to attempt to play the ball, so he has more or less bowled such a delivery where the striker would be obliged to go off the pitch in order to play it. Such a ball will be called a no ball. Again, you will see that it is not immediate. Umpire's action is not immediate. He has to see how far it is from the striker, and accordingly he is going to call that, of course, a no ball, so far that he is obliged to go off the pitch to play it. It is a case of no ball. But if the striker actually does go outside and play it, he will immediately call dead ball. Now we have a no ball, either both could go together also. It so happens he bowled such a delivery, no ball call, and the striker actually goes off the pitch to play that ball, dead ball, immediately, because the striker is not supposed to play a ball which is off the pitch as long, of course the rule says that he has to have some part of his body or bat. We will come to that particular law 25 when we will discuss it in detail. But it can be no ball only, or it can be no ball only dead ball where he has left the wicket, but it was not the bowler's fault. The ball was straight enough, but he went and played it off the pitch, and it could be both a no ball immediately followed by a dead ball. So this is how here the law says that if this happens, it will be a no ball, and immediately call and signal dead ball. Immediately call and signal a ball causing the striker to leave the pitch. If it is so far from the pitch that the striker would need to leave the pitch to attempt to play the ball, here my explanation is a little off. I said that he would need, I said he actually does it, but no, it would need to leave the pitch to attempt to play. So you have to assess that in order to play this ball, he would need to in order to reach that ball, he would need to go off the pitch. You will call no ball and dead ball immediately. No ball and dead ball immediately. So this is how it applies, and we will see where he actually leaves the field. We'll see in 25.8. Actually leaves the pitch area in order to play. We'll see in 25.8. We have seen a bit of it in the no ball in the dead ball law also. Fielder intercepting delivery. Law 20.21.9 hasn't happened in my experience, at least haven't seen it happened either. But I can well imagine that if there is a bowler who has bowled a delivery, a leg spinner who's bowled a delivery quite close to the edge of the pitch, and he's got a short leg, he's got a silly point, the ball in turning hits the silly point and then goes towards the striker again, ricochets towards the striker. Now, when the ball has been in this manner has been intercepted, it will have to be called no ball and immediately called dead ball. So now we have got some instances where the no ball call will be immediately followed by a dead ball. So the learner umpire really ought to be clear about what those instances are. What those instances are, it has to be really clear about it. Fine, you have to be clear. These are two or three oddities in the laws. About these you should always remember. Interception by any fielder before it reaches the striker will be no ball and called dead ball immediately. Ball bouncing over the head height of the striker. We have seen in higher level cricket where some playing conditions apply, the ball bouncing over the head height, the number of such balls, the deliveries are permitted, and after that it is no ball and all that. Regardless of all that, the laws of cricket provide very simply that every ball that goes over the head height, every short pitch ball bouncing, that is a short pitch ball, every short pitch ball bouncing over the head, it may be short pitch or not, but I can't imagine properly full pitch ball, good length ball going over his head height, but we presume that it was short pitch and every ball that goes over the head height of the striker standing upright at the popping crease is to be called a no ball. Every ball, because it is not a playable, not considered a playable ball. Ball going about above the straight height. It is not in the dangerous category. It is sailing above his head, not in the dangerous category at all. But it passes or would have passed. What is interesting here is passes or would have passed. So if I were the striker and I would reach out with my bat to that particular ball and actually hit it for runs, that no ball call will have to be made, still have to be made. It passes or would have passed. I did not allow it to pass. I struck it. But the law says this ball in either case, whether it passes or would have passed, has to be called a no ball in all cases. So the idea is that it is an unfair delivery and also remember of the striker standing upright at the popping crease. Now your assessment, the square leg umpire's assessment, or actually this is the bowlers and umpires jurisdiction. Remember, the jurisdiction is of the bowlers and umpire. Remember that, not the strikers and umpire, unless there is a playing condition which puts it the onus on the strikers and umpire. Here, the umpire shall call and signal no ball which passes, his assessment has to be the striker. If he were now, the striker is not a static person. He bends, he jumps, and he moves away from his popping crease behind, and he moves forward. All of that he does, move front and back, and there is upward and downward movement. He does it all the time. The umpire's assessment has to be based on a certain position. You have to form in your mind, yes, this is the height, this is the head height when he is standing erect. He may be, when he is crouching to meet the ball, that his head is about 10 inches lower, which is of no consequence. When he is erect, standing upright, that is the assessment. And I have heard some umpires also say that how they say they are at square leg. In a lot of cricket, the square leg umpire judges this. He forms a reference point from the man's head or his waist towards some object in the stands or in the distance to help him, to help guide him. Similarly, the bowler's umpire perhaps could make some kind of reference. Perhaps the reference point could be the top of the wicket instead of something in the distance towards the pavilion. Whichever way works for you, do it, but it is all a difficult task. This rule has been made without quite taking into consideration the difficulties of implementing them by the normal umpire. Similarly, the rule about that imaginary line from stump to stump, you got to judge a no ball on an imaginary line. On a line is difficult enough, but now an imaginary line, and so I find that a little, the lawmakers, I think, should think about it. But at least in that case, you are in front of. I cannot. At least you have that line in front of you, in front of your nose. But I am still waiting for it to happen, that a no ball is called on the front foot, on that imaginary center line. A no ball is called, and the foot is found to be inside. It very well happen. Very difficult to judge. So I think laws should be made with the point of view, with the understanding that it should be easy to implement on the field. We are not equipped with slow motion cameras and slow-mo and repeat cameras. We have only one view. Now we've seen that bouncing over head height of the striker. Please forget all playing conditions, what you see on TV. Every ball which goes over the head height of the striker, standing in his upright at his popping crease, will be called a no ball. And it is the job of the umpire at the bowler's end to do it. Now there is a law 21.11, the call of no ball for infringement of other laws. There are several other laws which again, because some unfair advantage has been taken because of that action, the umpire is supposed to call no ball. This list is there. We will read these, learn about these particular provisions when we talk about the relevant laws, like 27.3 is position of the wicketkeeper. Under certain circumstances, the umpire is supposed to call no ball. 28.4 limitation of onside fielders, not more than 2 behind the popping crease, is the rule. We all know it. This has been in place for a long time. Details we will understand when we go to that particular law. 28.5 fielder not to encroach on the pitch. Now encroachment on the pitch, of course, is to be judged by the umpire, the bowler's end. We know it. The law has been there for a long time. Detailed discussions when we come to that particular law. This is just a reading of the list. 3 unfair actions: bowling of dangerous and unfair short pitch deliveries. The no ball call will be necessitated. 41.7 bowling of dangerous and unfair non-pitching deliveries. 41.8 bowling and of deliberate front foot no ball. These are occasions where the umpire will call no ball. This is not in this list. These are separately given, and we will talk about all of these. Now there is some practical tip I wanted to give to umpires as regarding the edge of the pitch. Maybe I should have mentioned it earlier, but here it is relevant here because then you are supposed to judge when the ball has pitched on the edge, partially off, partially in. It is important for you to know where the pitch ends. on either side. Where does the pitch end on either side? It's important for the umpire to know. And in this law also, fielders not to encroach on the pitch is another law. Then we have one which is ball pitching outside the pitch is supposed to be called no ball. Practically speaking, umpires will be should take care to make sure that they have got some reference line. They've got some reference. What I find works very well. I hate chalk markings along the pitch, sides of the pitch. The chalk markings I very much detest. I do not like extraneous markings which are not authorized by the laws. What I would want umpires to do, I used to practice, and it is very widely practiced all over India, I believe. When you start marking out a pitch, first start marking out of a pitch practically. If you have not done it, get yourself acquainted with that procedure, how to lay out a pitch. I think I discussed it when we discussed law 6. I mentioned it. So what you do is, first you have two nails hit into the ground, hammered into the ground, which is they are 10 feet apart, with the middle stump to pitch on its center. On its center, that is the reference. Now you got a straight line here, you got 10 feet. Similarly, in a proper position there, making sure it's a proper rectangle, you have 2 points on the other side. So you got a nail here and a nail here, 2 nails opposite each other. I would want you to run a string, a somewhat stout string, maybe a quarter of an inch or a slight bit less, a little smaller than that. Run the string there from end to end, both sides, and let the groundsman let it be there even during the preparation of the wicket, and during on most grounds in India. This is kept there during the preparation, important games, it is kept there during the preparation of the wicket, so that string sinks in, and before the game it is pulled out, and that mark remains for as many as 5 days. I have seen it work. And so if you are at the bowler's end and you have that line there, you can see it. Immediately you can judge whether a fielder is encroaching on the pitch or the ball has pitched outside the pitch area. All of these things, you can immediately judge these things. So I suggest, practically speaking, pull a string on both sides, let them roll it into the ground, into the side of the pitch. Let them roll it in, and it can, before you start the game, it can be pulled out. This, I think, has worked very well, works across India. It can be practiced. Now coming to the next law, revoking a call of no ball. The umpire, there is a list where the umpire shall revoke the call of no ball if dead ball is called under any of the laws, following laws. Where you call dead ball, then you have called already no ball, and then you call dead ball. For these reasons, you are supposed to revoke the call of no ball. Now let us see what they are. 20.4.2.4. One or both bails fall from the striker's wicket before the striker has had an opportunity of playing the ball. We saw in the dead ball law that we must call dead ball. Now here a no ball has been called and a dead ball has been called. This no ball call should be revoked. We will be giving an extra ball, and this no ball 1-run penalty will be revoked. You will have to revoke that call. You already raised your arm. You raise your arm again and tell him that, look, I am revoking this, because the scorer must have seen your arm up. Even if you don't say no, you might put a run down there in the no ball column. So better do that. So we have seen, and here I will again draw your attention to our discussion in the last session, where this call can be late. It is for the umpire. It is possible that a fraction of a second before the striker has an opportunity to play it, it has fallen down, and in such circumstances, you miss the call. Not your fault. In that case, I suggest you call a late dead ball, which will be with retrospective effect under, I think, law 20.4, something like that. Then again, a striker not being ready, 20.4.2.5, striker is not ready. The circumstances of that are already given.
He is not ready and he backs off, makes no attempt to play. 100 times of 100 you should be calling a dead ball, and if it was first no ball and dead ball, the no ball will be revoked. Similarly, 100 out of 100 times in the case of a bail falling before it reaches the striker's wicket should be a dead ball call, even if called later. The law now permits it. You failed to do it or you had no chance to call it. Do it. This is the way I see it. The striker is distracted by any noise or movement in any other way while preparing to receive or receiving a delivery. Same applies here. If no ball has been called and that action happens, you have an occasion to call dead ball. No, sir. The no ball call will be revoked. We have 20.2.4.8. The bowler drops the ball accidentally before delivery. We have seen that happen. No ball, and he loses control of the ball, falls down. Dead ball, and you will revoke the no ball call. That penalty of 1 run will not be given. 20.4.2.10. The ball does not leave the bowler's hand for any reason other than in an attempt to run out the striker. We have seen very often that now here the bowler has not retained the ball in order to run out the striker, the non-striker. He just not released the ball. We have seen this happen, and for a lot of umpires, this calling of dead ball will be an instinct. He doesn't see the ball. Dead ball is what you will do, unless you have seen the bowler come back or whatever and move sideways and try and break that wicket. Otherwise, it is to be called dead ball, and if no ball was also there, it has to be revoked. So these are the instances where no ball call should be revoked. The laws prescribe it, and any student umpire should be preparing having a sort of list with him where instances of revocation of a no ball call are there. These are the instances. Otherwise, the general rule applies. A no ball once called is not revoked, and that 1 run penalty will always stand, is the general rule which we have supposed to follow. We are presented here with another rule which says that no ball to override wide. A call of no ball shall override the call of wide at any time. This is the law there. If both wide and no ball are called, you are calling wide, the umpire at the striker's end has called no ball, say for infringement by the wicket keeper onto the pitch coming in front. It is the no ball that will prevail, and your wide ball call will not prevail. And what you will do as the bowler's umpire is turn you already raised your arms for a wide, and he's called no ball. Both of you have their arms up. When the action stops, you will turn and signal to the scorers a wide no ball. Signal the no ball to the scorers and leg buys or whatever. Ball does not become dead on calling of no ball, which is obvious. We know it. Play goes on, and the batting side is allowed to take advantage of that unfair delivery. Penalty for a no ball, I have told this often, this reiterated here. Penalty of a 1 run shall be awarded instantly on the call of no ball. So it is instantly awarded. Unless the call is revoked, the penalty shall stand even if a batter is dismissed. It doesn't matter if a batter is dismissed, the penalty shall stand unless it is revoked. If a call is revoked, the penalty, we've seen the instances. This shall be in addition to any other runs scored or boundary allowance of any other runs awarded for penalties. The no ball call will not merge into any other runs. If they have struck for a boundary, those 4 boundary runs will apply, and 1 run will go to the no ball column, 4 to the striker or to buys or leg buys, whatever. And if there are penalty runs also given in the case of no ball, a no ball has been played, and as it is, we know that we are told that the penalty has nothing to do with the particular delivery, any particular, so there is no real connection. So in that case, that 1 run will be a separate noting there in the scorebook. Now, runs resulting from a no ball, we have already discussed it, will go on no ball extras and debited against the bowler. It is the bowler's fault, it will be debited against the bowler.
Penalty runs will go as penalty runs. Under extras penalty, any runs completed by the batters, whether buys, leg buys, or by means of a strike to the ball, will go according to that. Those will go to extras. 4 off the bat or 6 off the bat will go to the batter's account. No ball not to count is obvious. No ball will not count as part of the over. And what are the ways in which batter cannot be out? He can be out only in 3 cases: of a no ball, hit the ball twice, obstructing the field, and run out. These are the 3 ways in which. So, in other words, all the instances where the bowler gets credit for the dismissal will not be allowed of a no ball. So this sums up the no ball law for us, and we have gone through each and every aspect of the no ball law, and there are a lot here for the student umpire to learn and understand and practice. In the next session we will be talking about white ball. Bye for now.